something to say. Ah, I don't know why. It's only been a week, but I've missed you guys. How are you? Did you do something fun for the holiday weekend? For me, it was just family, friends, hanging out, barbecuing, catching up with family before my son left for school, which was awesome. We even went into, wait, I've never done this. On Labor Day, we went to Chinatown. Oh my God. We had the best dumplings. It was freaking awesome. It was just incredible. So, I don't know. What did you do? Let me know. I like to hear all the fun things you're doing out there. So, I'm waiting for my guest to come in. She's awesome sauce. Her name is Lauren Yellin Weinberg. And she's here. And I asked her, she saw me at Fem City, and now she's in one of my groups. It's incredible. It's so fun. Isn't that great how you do that?
It is.
Yes. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, so good to be here.
I was telling them about our journey that you saw me at Fem City. We met at NABO, and I asked you to be on the show because I saw you speak. And next thing I know, you're in a group with me.
It's so funny how that happened, right? I was saying that to you. Like when you first asked me to be on the show, we barely knew each other. And now I get to see you 5 days a week.
Yeah. So, shout out to Maggie Cook and Speaker Mastery Program that we're both in. And not only does it meet once a week, but we have accountability calls at 9:30 in the morning, which is great. Like, what are you doing? What's your attention? And it keeps me on track. Okay, but before we go into that, I'm going to tell them a little bit about you because my audience is going to freaking love you. Is a board certified health and wellness coach and a certified happiness coach. I want to learn more about that. With a background as a psychologist and family therapist. Woo. Lauren inspires her audiences and clients to embrace their personal power and learn the mindset. Could this be more? It's like surreal, like for my show. The mindset and habits that help them become better and better. She provides concrete tools that facilitate empowered leadership, well-being, happiness, and success. Lauren is a co-contributor to the book, Healthy Thinking, Happy Life, a speaker, a personal coach, a corporate facilitator, and an expert for Living Healthy list. Oh my goodness, I didn't even know all that.
Busy.
Oh my, there's so much to unpack there, but I want to start with your first statement that you want to put out to the world.
Sure.
You can create a fabulous, successful, wonderful life, but you first must believe you deserve it. Now, Lauren, I sent this out to my peeps, and I said, what do you think of this? You know, do you have questions for her? And the thing that I got over and over and over again was, okay, Sandy, I know that. I know we have to believe we deserve it, but how can I convince myself? Like, ask Lauren for tips because logically they know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the big but.
And how, right? And that's why I have a coaching program. That's why I speak, right? And let me tell you, it's simple, but as Mel Robbins says, it's simple but not easy, right? Because it takes effort. Look, we spent our entire lives steeped in the experiences and the subsequent thoughts and belief systems that we've developed because of those experiences. And that's taken a lifetime to develop. And fortunately, it doesn't take an entire, the same amount of time to undo. And I don't think that you necessarily undo. You have to create sort of a parallel path. And you can see the limiting beliefs, and you can choose a different way of looking at the world. And that's a big part of what my coaching does. I lean into what's possible. I lean into the positive. I mean, like, life is meant to be joyfully lived. And that's true whether, you have the job that you want or you don't, whether you have the relationship that you're hoping for or you don't. You know, whether you're living someplace that feels perfect or you don't, you can still have the mindset and make the choices to live like a fabulous freaking life, even if it's messy sometimes, right?
Which it is. Which it is.
Which it is. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are ways to shift the way you think. You know, it's funny, in the New York Times today, there was a little piece on Elaine Lelaine, which, you know, you got to just love her name. It was Jack LaLanne's wife. She's 97 years old. And she's got projects going. She's working on TV collaborations. She's doing amazing things. And she gets up every day and she, you know, does her pull-ups and her little counter push-ups and like she's still doing her thing. I know, right? Who would have even thought? She's 97. And what she said she lives by is you have to believe you can. And I love that saying, and I think that's true. You have to believe you can. But I realized that there was something underneath that because it's, again, an easy thing to say, right?
Yeah.
You have to believe you can. But the truth is that we run up against the wall of what we believe we deserve, and we can't get to can until we see that there's this wall that we're living in, until you can see the invisible wall, right? I call it your box, like your box of limitation, your box of limiting beliefs. And when you understand that those walls are made up of things like fear, right? And you'll hear people say, you just have to push through the fear. And sometimes made up of doubt, right? The kind of like, oh my gosh, but I don't think I can, or I don't know how to. Or guilt. Sometimes it's made up of guilt, which sounds a lot like, ooh, who am I to? Or that person really deserves this, right? Or maybe even, ooh, I did something bad in my past, and so I don't deserve to, right? I don't deserve it. And it's all of that, like any of that and all of that creates those walls that we have trouble seeing through. And so what I talk about is learning how to move the box. You have to move the box of what you believe you deserve, right? I don't know that you ever fully get rid of it, but you can learn to move it.
I love that. Lauren, when you break things down, I'm like, yeah, that was spinning around my head, but you just said it so eloquently, and now I have a visual. Yeah, I'm just going to move that box this far. Okay, so, well said. Well said, my friend. I get it. So let's back up a bit, because the question that came in while you were talking is, she just wants to make sure she has it. We'll call her Shelly Bell. So what you're saying first is, I first have to recognize where I am and the thoughts I am having before I can move forward, which she just wants to clarify.
Yeah, you know, so I call it catch and release, right? And it's just an easy way to remember. And this is honestly what shifted everything for me. I was living in a space, right? It's easy to see me now and say, oh, but of course, everything, you know, you've got it, you understand, and you're doing it all right. I didn't. And I tell people, no, you know what? I used to be so uncomfortable in my own skin that I felt like I had an energy that almost repelled people. And it wasn't really until I decided to be intentional about how I'm living my life, which happened when I went back to retrain as a coach. Only I was 53 years old, you know, so only, yes. So until my late 50s, look, I tell people I didn't start working out till I was 45 years old, and I didn't start making these intentional changes in my life till I was 53. And I had to flip everything around. And one of the things I used to do, because I was so uncomfortable in my skin, is I used to make a lot of self-deprecating jokes. And people say, oh, I do that too. That's not hurting anyone, right? I know I'm not taking it seriously and I'm not hurting anybody else. And I say, but you are hurting someone. You're hurting yourself and you don't realize it. And I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Because we are, the part of our brain that acts to keep us safe has no sense of humor. And when we make those jokes where we're the butt of the joke, all your brain hears is you're a joke. And you start to believe that. And let me tell you, I started to feel smaller and smaller and smaller in my own life. And it wasn't until I had a friend, my dearest friend, who said to me, stop talking about yourself like that. And I don't know, my angels must have been buzzing around me that day because I heard her. I heard her and it sunk in. And I started to catch myself. When I would make a joke, I started to catch myself when I just had those everyday thoughts that we all have. Those thoughts that say things like, I can't believe I can't find my keys again. I'm such an idiot. And I would catch myself and I'd say, you know what? You are not an idiot. You're busy. And sometimes this happens to people and that's okay. So I call it catch and release. You catch yourself having those negative thoughts. Now, those are obvious examples. Your thoughts might be much trickier. Your thoughts might be, oh, why didn't I speak up in that meeting? Or, you know, why didn't I say something when my mother-in-law was putting down the way I raised my children, right? And then you start, right? Because you're so weak or whatever, you know, you start saying these things to yourself, right? Catch and release. So that's the absolute number one way to start. So I love that your, you know, person who's listening, I won't say your caller, no, your texter said, you know, do I have this right? You have to see what you're thinking first and then change it. Yes, you have it right. See where you are, see what's coming in. What is the level? What is really going on? And it doesn't matter to understand it. I don't care where it came from. Just recognize it and then choose to let it go.
I like catch and release. All right, write down my notes. Move the box, catch and release. All right, we got it. Okay, let's get to the next question. They want to know why, I think you kind of answered it. They want to know why you got into this, because when I was reading over your resume, were you a family therapist and psychologist and then you got, like, it sounds like you got into the coaching?
Yeah.
So let's back up. What made you want to go into family therapy and psychology?
You know, it's one of those things that evolved. Growing up, you know, like most women, young girls, like who are our age, right? Like, oh, what do you want to be? Like, oh, a teacher. Like, of course, right? Okay, you want to be a teacher. And then I volunteered as a child, as a kid, like maybe I was 12, 13, with kids who were neurodiverse. And I thought, oh, all right, maybe I'll become a special ed teacher. And then I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe there's something else. Like maybe I learned about psychology and I thought, oh, that's a different way of helping people. And it appealed to me. And right from the jump, I thought, oh, okay, I'll be a psychologist. Well, I thought I would be like maybe an art therapist or a dance therapist. And it's funny, like things just happen. And this is what I say, I didn't bring a lot of intentionality to my life until I decided to be a coach, right? So I feel like I was like, I describe it as like jumping in the river and just sort of like being swept along and like whatever flotsam and jetsam I like bumped into, that's what I clung on to. So I thought I'd get a master's, but I was given the opportunity to submatriculate into getting a master's. I went to Penn. We're local to Philadelphia, so that's how I arrived here. I went to Penn. And I submatriculated and I got a master's in 1 year in counseling psych. And then connected to the counseling psych department, there was the family therapy department at Child Guidance Clinic. So they were like, you want to do this? And I'm like, sure, that sounds interesting. So I did that. And then a very cool program, by the way, we trained behind a one-way mirror, right? And so people were behind the mirror calling in to give us like interventions while we were in the session. That was very cool. And while I was there, they said to me from that counseling psych department, hey, do you want to come back and do your doctorate? And I was like, I don't have to apply. No, we know you. We'd love to have you. I'm there. So I decided to do that. Now, here's the thing. I never finished that. I never finished. So I'm licensed. I got licensed as a psychologist. I finished all but my dissertation. And you will hear people say that, ABD. So I did everything I needed to get licensed. I took my national exams. It didn't stop me from doing anything. But this is actually a huge part of my story. I lived with that shame and guilt of not finishing that dissertation for 20 years.
Wow.
So much so, it bothered me so much that ultimately I stopped working. I just took myself out of the game, and I was home for 20 years.
Wow.
So maybe I didn't quite do the math right, but I worked for, almost 10 years, and then I was like home for 20 years. And it still haunted me. Even though it was no longer even a part of my life, it haunted me. And it didn't stop until, look, I made that decision. I think it might be the first decision I ever made in my life, that I chose to go and become a coach. And starting on that path, truly, of what I was meant to do. And actually, I say sometimes maybe it worked out better this way, because had I finished and then I was ready to go back to work and I had those letters after my name, I think I might have thought, oh, I have to go back and do therapy. And guess what? Doing therapy never fully sat with me because I didn't love to look for problem. I used to fight with my professors all the time.
I can see that.
I would, and they'd be like, and there's this Rorschach, and look at all the things. I'm like, this is a healthy 11-year-old girl who is living her life. I'm not looking for this problem. Sorry, right? Like, it just never fully sat with me to be looking for problem. And that to me is the difference between therapy. Now, mind you, positive psychology was not even a thing right? When I stopped working. Marty Seligman.
It's totally different now. It's totally different
now. But it's still based on problem, right? You still go to therapy because you're having problems, you're in pain, and somebody's looking at the genesis of those problems, or they're looking how to solve those problems, but they're solving those problems, right? People often come to coaching because they want more. There's not a problem necessarily, but they want more. They want a bigger life. They want a more beautiful life. They want what I think my clients often want is they want to shine, which is why I created my coaching program called Shine, right? They're like, oh, things just feel like a little off, a little stuck, a little dull. I look for strengths, right? What I do as a coach is I look for strengths with them. How do we capitalize on your strengths? How do we capitalize on where you want your life to go? To me, it's all about possibility. And whether I'm talking leadership, coaching, life, like it's all about creating possibility. And that to me is what deserving is. Once you get that you are deserving, just because you're born, frankly, it's your birthright to live this beautiful life. And I'm not talking deserving like promotions and titles and things that people earn. Like you are deserving of living this gorgeous, shining life just because you're a human being. We all are.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a very, very long answer.
I'm glad I asked, because now it really gives everyone listening and watching a broader picture of what you do and why you chose to do it, and how you truly know what they're going through, because you had the same thing that impacted you that caused you not to work for 20 years because you felt so, and that,
because I felt small.
And by sharing that story, there's so many people that can relate. Everyone has those kind of stories that are like, yeah, I've been holding that inside, but I didn't even know I was holding that inside. They weren't even aware of it.
And like, this is why I call myself the becoming coach, because we're all always in that process of becoming. And they always say that you end up coaching on what you needed to work on, right? Because you intimately know that. But it also led to these like deep levels of understanding that, like, it was like peeling an onion. And to me, like, it started with well-being, right? After fixing the catch and release, after catching the way I was talking to myself, as healthy habits do, they just started bleeding one into the other. Then I first started working out and changed what I was eating. And before you knew it, when I became more intentional, I started meditating and inviting that connection with the universe. And it was just like peeling away these layers until I got to the kernel, to me, this kernel of truth, that it was like a light bulb one day. Like, wow, wait a minute. I deserve just because I am, just because I exist. And we all do. And that, it seemed like the kernel. And when I thought, what, people say push through the fear. They talk about forgiveness. All these things. And let me tell you, I have methods for getting rid of limiting beliefs. I have my own method of forgiveness. I have methods for all of these things. But nothing seems to get to it like the sense of deserving. That once you truly believe and understand that you are deserving just because you're a person, you suddenly give yourself permission to achieve a different level of success than ever before. And to me, I feel like, oh, that was the lotus flower inside the onion. Like, that was the prize. And that's why I can't stop talking about it.
Which I'm glad about. And what's coming to mind, and I see other people saying this, what you're saying is you don't have to justify. And that's the thing that we do a lot in especially people that serve others and want to do good in the world. This young man, yes, there's a man on here, said, I'm always justifying, like, okay, I deserve that because I did this, A, B, C, and D. And by having that switch just a little bit, no, I didn't, this happened and I deserved it, and we say that a lot. And because, all right, well, if I won't feel guilty if I do this, this, and this for other people.
Yeah, almost like you're earning the good that comes
Yeah.
to you.
Yep.
Right? And people have guilt not only about past things, they also have guilt about accepting goodness into their life.
Yep.
And, in a way, it a little bit breaks my heart, right? Because I so believe that we all truly deserve all the good things. When I say all the good things, you deserve vibrant health. To what your body will allow. You deserve vibrant health. You deserve abundant happiness. You deserve meaningful success. Now, that may look different for everybody, but you deserve something that feels meaningful to you. You deserve positive, loving relationships. And you deserve to feel purposeful and to have personal growth. Again, becoming. We all have this journey in our life where we're constantly becoming. I think I started to say this before and I never finished my thought. Our life is a journey without a destination. And the reason that I say that we get better and better and that I give people the tools to become better and better is because there is no best. When people say, oh, I'm going to help you live your best life, I'm like, really? And then what? No, I'm going to give you the tools to become better and better. And that to me is literally what my coaching does, what my leadership program does. Like, it gives people or companies the tools to get better and better because that is our life. And we want to lean forward. We want it to just grow and become better and better. Letting the good in without any guilt, without any justification is just getting better and better.
I love that. I love that reframing. All right, people, we're not going to get to all these questions, but I do want to get to this one before we wrap up because we only have a few more minutes. Time flies by. And it's something that I know I've encountered, so I'm really curious what you have to say, is here's your statement. It's time to put your positive pants on. And what other people that are in our line of work are asking, does Lauren encounter people saying, oh, my God, if one more person says positive, 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 there's too much positive, it's too high of an expectation. If one more says be positive, you can't always be positive. You're going to have the other side of life. And so many times they get hit with, well, that's unhealthy to tell people that, because there are going to be times in your life that There is no good. There is no happies. It sucks, whatever. So I know I've heard this many times. I'm curious about you.
So here's the thing, nothing's black or white. And when I say that, I give people the tools. We all have down days. And I don't care how positive a person you are. I'm one of the most, and I've always been a positive person. Oh my God. I remember my high school teacher who, first period, they used to say, could you tone it down a little bit? Stop being so sunshiny. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
But people who are positive have been shown having a positive mindset. It doesn't mean you're happy all the time, and it doesn't mean you're positive all the time. It means that you have a worldview that allows you to see positivity and possibility where other people are seeing only problem. And any problem can be flipped. There are ways to do that are to focus on gratitude, because there's always something to be grateful for. And people say, oh, but I had a terrible past and I grew up with an abusive parent and I never had anything. And I say, yes, but look at you now. Look how strong it made you. Look how self-reliant it made you. There's always gratitude to be found. The lessons learned, right? You look at the lessons that you got from something. That helps you find the positivity in a situation as well. I have a friend who, oh gosh, she was just scheduled to have a very important surgery. And she got there and they put her off and they won't reschedule her again till December. And like, just even myself, I was furious. And I talked to her the day after it happened. And she said, yeah, I was furious too. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe there's a reason. Maybe the surgeon wasn't up for it. Maybe I'm going to find a better surgeon between now and then. And she just started looking at the positive side, at the possibilities. And I'm like, yes, and I'm right there with you. Like, I went to the bad place. I didn't start Pollyanna. Oh, hey, it's going to be great. Positivity doesn't mean Pollyanna.
Yeah.
Positivity means that you're willing to use your tools, and when you get in a hole, you know how to get out faster. That's positivity. And you look for it, right? So gratitude lessons, and you just commit to finding positivity. So when you're in a situation, look for the positive. And when you can find it, write it down. Or if you can help somebody else find positivity in a difficult situation, keep track of it. This helps to retrain your brain. It helps to make that parallel path that I was talking about at the top of the hour.
Amen, sister. All right, so I want to finish up with this. I want to spice up my life. So you talk about you can learn to spice up your life. I want you to break it down because I love spicing up my life.
Right? So this is my methodology for becoming more deserving, right? We're already doing the ICE part. The I stands for imagine the possibilities. The C stands for commit, and the E stands for expect amazing things. We're always doing that. However, when we don't bring intention to it, we are imagining the worst case scenarios, right? Or the lack of possibility we imagine keeps us stuck. We commit to thinking negatively or thinking like a victim, and we expect the worst instead of expecting amazing things. We're doing that anyway. That spells ice. And I say, brr, it leaves you cold, right? When you add the SP before ice and you get spice, and I say, smell the cinnamon, smell the clove, because then you're going to remember it, right? You're going to remember that spice, spicing up your life. The SP stands for seek positivity. So I'm glad we addressed that other one before. You seeking positivity in all the ways that I just said. And it's because without possibility never comes from I can't or but or no. All right, those words will never lead to you imagining possibility in your life and expanding possibility. Committing to action, committing to speaking what you want, your big dreams out loud every day, which is the commit, right, to action and to speaking it out loud every day. That never happens from I can't or no. And expecting amazing things never happens from I can't or but, right? Because we do that all the time. Sure, but, and you know something negative is coming after but. So seek positivity is a language of hell yes. It's a language of hell yes, and it is a language of I can, and it is a language of, we can figure it out, right? That is positivity. So seeking positivity, when you can see through that lens, then you get to imagining your world of possibilities, committing to these big dreams, and expecting amazing things, which is the key. Because like your fellow who said, I have to justify. No, expect amazing things. And when they come, because they will come, if you do, SPINC, I promise you the E is coming. And when the amazing things show up, you have to be willing to accept them. Don't brush it off. Don't poo-poo it. Don't say I don't deserve. Just say yes and thank you.
That's a great note to end on, my dear friend. Lauren, thank you so much for being on Hey, I Got Something to Say. But before we go, tell them how they can find you.
Thanks, Sandy. And thank you so, so much for inviting me. It's my absolute pleasure to get to talk about this with you. So lastingchangewellness.com. I know that's a mouthful. lastingchangewellness.com. And you can sign up for a free discovery call. Like, I love to jump on the phone with people, even if it's just to continue this conversation. And I always say, take me up on it. I'm offering, take me up on it.
Yes.
And on Instagram, find me at Lasting Change Coach. Those are like the easiest ways to find me. And on LinkedIn, I'm at Lauren Yellin Weinberg. So I would love to connect with people. Please reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't just follow. Feel free to reach out and connect and drop me a note. DM me at Lasting Change Coach. I would love to continue the conversation.
That's awesome, Lauren. All right, my hey people. Don't worry. He came in the middle of it. Once I'm done here with Lauren, I'm going to record it, and then we're going to put it on all platforms. So it will be on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and LinkedIn. And Lauren and I would both really appreciate you sharing and liking it. And you know what I'm going to say? Until next time, toodles!
Toodles!